The day everything changed was 7 years ago in a bustling city filled with cars and pedestrians. The woman's eyes widen in shock as she clutches her neck, realizing her world fell to a calamity called the dungeon break amidst a fiery, chaotic environment. A massive surge of red energy erupts from the ground, engulfing the cityscape and monstrous figures as the dungeon break's chaos claims countless lives. Song-yoon and other civilians scream as they run away from an enormous horned demon and several rock-like monsters with glowing red eyes that pursue them. A blood-splattered photograph of a family of 3 lies on a grimy, blood-stained surface. Song-yoon screams in silent anguish, his hands clenched into fists while his eyes glow a deep red and tears of blood streak down his face. He vows to become a hunter and tear apart the monsters that plagued his world as a red aura bursts from the darkness. 7 years pass after the event. Song-yoon sits on a bench in the Great Calamity Memorial Park, observing the large central monument surrounded by broken pillars. Song-yoon sits on a bench and buries his head in his arms, dejected after being kicked out of the hunter training gym. Song-yoon's single blue eye is visible from under his dark hood as he mutters his own name in self-reproach. A voice cuts right to the chase. Song-yoon lies on the gym floor amongst other defeated people, looking up at a muscular arm looming over him as an unseen person tells him not to come to the gym anymore, prompting his shocked response. Song-yoon stares in shock, asking why this is so sudden and why he is being told to leave. A muscular man stands over Song-yoon, explaining that most newly awakened people receive months of training at a hunter gym before they can officially debut. A man with red eyes states that the problem is 7 years have passed since Song-yoon started his training, and Song-yoon's intense blue eyes stare forward in response. Song-yoon glares forward with furious, glowing red eyes, telling the other person they have no hope of becoming a hunter and are nothing but trash. Song-yoon stares forward with a stressed yet determined expression, sweat forming on his brow as his intense blue eyes remain fixed. He tells the person that if they keep training together, everyone will start thinking his gym is trash too. A crowd of onlookers gathers, their faces set in sneering expressions as they look down. They whisper and snicker amongst themselves, mocking someone for foolishly training every day and clinging to a pipe dream. Song-yoon crouches in the dark, his head bowed as he thinks about his stats remaining exactly the same after 7 years of training. Song-yoon crushes a metal vitality can in his hand, causing liquid to spray out from his grip. Song-yoon looks down with a pained expression, his hands clenched into trembling fists as he seethes with frustration over his stagnant stats. A voice cries out in disbelief. Song-yoon sits on a wooden chair wearing a baseball cap and hoodie, his head lowered as he looks down. Song-yoon, as a child, stands beside his mother in a martial arts uniform and yellow helmet, excitedly raising a fist. A small child wearing a yellow helmet and goggles smiles proudly, illuminated by a golden light as they remember their father's bravery. Song-yoon speaks to a man sitting on a park bench, asking if he remembers what to do when life gets hard before telling him to be brave and then hesitating. Song-yoon stares forward with a determined expression, declaring that one must never give up. Song-yoon kneels down, catching a joyful child as she jumps into his arms for a loving embrace. A dark-haired woman embraces a young child wearing an oversized yellow helmet. Song-yoon bows deeply before the woman kneeling on the ground holding a baby. Song-yoon runs at high speed toward a woman holding a child, who looks back at him in surprise. Song-yoon runs forward with intense resolve, remembering how he has held on for the past 7 years. Song-yoon stares forward with glowing blue pupils, tears welling up in his eyes as his face hardens with pained determination. Song-yoon runs with determination across the patterned urban ground, his expression set as he sprints through the city with skyscrapers in the background. Heavy rain pours from a dark clouded sky over the city rooftops. Song-yoon stands in the rain at night, repeatedly pounding his fist against a white door. Song-yoon stands in a dark, rainy corridor, watching as a door creaks open and spills light into the alleyway. Song-yoon glances over his shoulder with a stern expression, illuminated by a bright light, and demands to know what someone is doing there before pleading with his coach. Song-yoon stands opposite another figure in a dark, rain-drenched alley, pleading for one last chance to take the hunter test. Song-yoon stands with his back turned, looking down into the falling rain and letting out a sigh. Song-yoon snarls with an enraged expression, his eyes glowing red with power. Song-yoon looks up, his face twisted in shock and distress as rain and sweat drip down his face. An aggressive man yells and jabs his finger into Song-yoon's chest, asking if he's upset about the wasted money. He offers a refund for half the membership fees as Song-yoon recoils, stammering that it's not about that. Song-yoon shouts with his face twisted in a raw expression, yelling that it is not about the money. An arm strikes Song-yoon across the face, his head whipping to the side as his baseball cap flies off. Song Yun falls backward through an explosion of debris, water, and glowing blue fragments, his face twisted in pain and surprise. Song Yun stands in a dark, rainy alley under a street lamp, his eyes glowing red as he smirks cynically. Song Yun looks down in despair, his face battered and bleeding from the mouth as rain falls over him. Song Yun strains, bracing himself against an overturned blue dumpster as heavy water splashes around him. Someone makes a wish. Seong Yun stares forward with determination, his face wet and blood dripping from his injured lip. Seong Yun sits defeated in a puddle in a grimy alley, surrounded by trash as rain falls on him, concluding he has no talent for this. A single water droplet falls, hitting the surface and creating expanding ripples. Seong Yun, injured with glowing blue eyes, reacts with confusion to a holographic system message that reads, "The Tour of Trials applauds your iron will," prompting him to question what it is. Song Yun's eyes glow blue as an explosive surge of blue energy violently engulfs his body. Song Yun screams in shock and pain, his eyes wide as glowing blue energy and water droplets erupt around him. Rain pours down on industrial rooftops at night as a blue light glows from below, a voice screams for help, and a splash echoes. Song Yun lunges forward with an enraged expression, his eyes glowing red as he yells, "That's a nug, you ashel, burst." Seong Yun stands in a dark, rainy alley yelling at a slumped figure, but he stops and turns in confusion as a sudden sound rushes past him. Seong Yun stands in the rain holding his cap and looks up, realizing the other man has disappeared. Song Yun scoffs and slams the helmet into a trash can in the pouring rain. Song Yun plunges headfirst into the dark, turbulent blue liquid, sending droplets splashing around him. Seong Yun struggles inside large water bubbles, a cut on his lip bleeding as he gasps for air, unable to breathe. A wave of energy surges forward. Seong Yun screams as he plummets through an energy-filled abyss while a massive, glowing body of water erupts from above and rushes down towards him. A blue holographic window appears, announcing that the Tower of Trials has selected all worthy challengers across planet Earth. Seong Yun floats suspended in a glowing void, reaching out towards the translucent blue screen while questioning if the Tower of Trials is another great calamity. Song Yun stares in shock as two blue windows materialize in front of him, prompting him to select a difficulty level and informing him that rewards will increase with the chosen difficulty. Seong Yun's lower face is illuminated by a bright blue and yellow glow as he internally voices his confusion about the situation, his thought trailing off with anticipation. Song Yun stares at a holographic interface displaying 3 difficulty options: easy, normal, and hard, knowing his instinct is telling him which to choose. Song Yun's eyes glow blue as energy emanates from his body. He lunges forward with a fierce expression, his hand outstretched. Seong Yun reacts with a pained expression as a swirling pink energy envelops him. A blue holographic message appears amid glowing digital particles, reading, "May you find satisfaction at the end of your journey." A blue holographic system message announces that entry into Level 1 of the Tower of Trials will begin in a moment. Song Yun looks up with a distressed expression as chaotic, glitching energy surrounds his body. A glowing blue holographic interface displays a message, healing all ailments and injuries. A blue system message appears, announcing entry into the Tower of Trials, Level 1. A blue holographic screen materializes, displaying a message that orders preparations for an imminent trial. Seong Yun glows with a blue aura as he rockets downwards along the rugged cliff face. Song Yun stops his descent abruptly, staring in confusion as the cliff face is suddenly replaced by a vast desert landscape. A glowing, ornate sword materializes from blue energy and digital effects as a system notification announces it is issuing a weapon. Song Yun stands surprised as a large, ornate sword plunges into the barren ground next to him. A glowing blue holographic display announces the theme of the trial is survival. A blue holographic system message announces the trial clearance reward, informing him that an innate trait has been unlocked. Song Yun's eyes widen in shock as he processes the term innate trait, his heart suddenly pounding in his chest. Song Yun trains intensely across various environments for 7 years, pushing his body through grueling solitary exercises because he believes he is finally on the verge of unlocking an innate trait. Song Yun grits his teeth and clenches his hands tightly, sweat covering his face as his heart pounds in his chest with disbelief. Song Yun walks across a vast desert, heading toward a sword impaled in the ground and deciding he needs to grab it. Seong Yun lurches forward, losing his balance as a sudden tremor shakes the ground and kicks up dust around him. Song Yun sprints away in a panic as a massive structure of earth collapses behind him. Seong Yoon recoils in pain as a holographic system panel announces the commencement of the tutorial trial. A blue holographic interface displays the text, Tour of Trials, Difficulty is selected, Hard. A system notification appears, announcing that a sand golem has been summoned. A massive rock golem with glowing eyes erupts from the ground, towering over the dusty landscape as Seong Yoon looks up at the creature. Seong Yoon stares upward, his eyes wide with panicked disbelief as dust and glowing particles swirl around him. A blue system window displays a new objective, instructing the user to survive against the sand golem until the time limit is up. A blue holographic display shows the time remaining is 9 minutes and 58 seconds. The rock monster roars and swings its massive arm at Seong Yoon. He holds his sword and dashes to the side, evading the attack. Their attacks collide in a burst of orange energy, the impact echoing through the space. Seong Yoon is thrown backward from an impact, grunting as he falls through the air while clutching his sword, and a blue system notification chimes in front of him. Seong Yoon stares forward in shock, his eyes glowing a bright blue. He grits his teeth and sweats profusely, a faint blue aura enveloping his body. A blue holographic screen displays the penalty for failing the trial, death. Seong Yoon gasps in shock as a holographic system notification appears before him, announcing that the tutorial trial has commenced. A blue holographic screen displays the words Tower of Trials and confirms the selected difficulty is Hard. A massive glowing sand golem erupts from the ground as a system message announces its summoning, and Seong Yoon stands calmly at its base while sand and debris fly into the air around him. Seong Yoon looks up with a wide-eyed, frustrated expression, spreading his arms out amidst the hazy golden particles as he shouts in disbelief. A system message displays the objective, survive against the sand golem until the time limit is up. A holographic system window displays a countdown timer with less than 10 minutes remaining. Seong Yoon grips his sword and dashes to the side as the massive rock monster's fist crashes down on the spot where he was just standing. Their weapons collide with explosive force, sending sparks flying through the darkness. Seong Yoon grips his sword as a violent impact throws him backward, his face contorting in pain amidst flying debris and energy. Seong Yoon's glowing blue eyes widen in sheer terror, his sharp teeth bared as sweat beads on his face, and he shudders. A blue holographic system screen displays the penalty for trial failure, death. Seong Yoon screams while sprinting away with his sword drawn as immense impacts shake the ground behind him, kicking up enormous clouds of dust. Seong Yoon glances back over his shoulder, his face strained and his eyes wide with panic. The colossal rock golem charges forward with glowing yellow eyes, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris as its massive strides allow it to close the distance with surprising speed. Seong Yoon stomps his foot into the desert sand, sending a burst of dust and particles into the air. Seong Yoon scrambles on the ground, exhausted and desperate, as a large golem stomps nearby. A timer displays 9 minutes remaining, and he realizes he does not have the stamina to keep running. Seong Yoon pants heavily while gripping the simple, shining sword, frustrated that he was only given this lousy weapon and told to survive, believing he is being set up to fail. The rock monster throws Seong Yoon backward, slamming him into the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust as he screams that he will either die running away or die standing his ground. Seong Yoon lies on the ground, grimacing as sweat drips from his face while he stares up in despair at a massive, shining blade looming over him, wondering how he is supposed to fight it. Multiple shadowy figures with glowing, grinning faces look down from the darkness, scoffing and snickering at their target. Seong Yoon screams, his face contorted in frustration and pain as glowing orange energy surrounds him. He yells that clinging to a pipe dream is sheer stupidity, panting heavily from the exertion. A colossal, grinning figure with glowing red eyes steps down, dwarfing Seong Yoon, who stands ready with a sword. The giant being calls Seong Yoon completely worthless. Seong Yoon grits his teeth in frustration, refusing to run away and die a coward's death. The massive, glowing-eyed rock creature slams its fist into the ground, creating a shockwave as Seong Yoon moves rapidly to evade the blast. Seong Yoon screams as golden energy erupts from his body, recalling his 7 years of training and resolving to find another way to survive. A colossal rocky golem with glowing yellow eyes roars, revealing a prominent glowing red core stone on its chest, which is the key to deactivating the monster. Seong Yoon runs desperately through the desert, sword in hand, as a large rock golem with glowing eyes pursues him, realizing he has no chance of reaching the core stone like this. Seong Yoon energetically sprints up the vast sand dune under the bright sky. Seong Yoon stomps his foot hard into the ground. Seong Yoon leaps through the air with his sword, aiming for the high ground on the collapsing stone giant. Song Yun skids across the ground with his sword drawn as another figure flips through the air, dropping their weapon. Song Yun stands on the massive earthen structure as it violently collapses and breaks apart beneath him. A massive rocky fist crashes into the ground, causing an explosion of earth and debris as Song Yun stands on a distant hill observing the impact. Song Yun rushes forward with a focused expression, enveloped in a golden aura. Song Yun leaps rapidly across the rocky terrain, moving toward a large, glowing red object he spots in the distance. Song Yun grits his teeth in pain, his eyes glowing a wide, bright blue as energy surges up from below him. Song Yun swings his arm, unleashing a sweeping blade of blue energy as he yells that he has his target. A sharp metallic weapon strikes a dark red organic surface, generating a bright blue burst of energy and debris from the impact. Song Yun shows intense strain on his face as he wields a glowing, ethereal sword above his head, surrounded by a shower of light particles. The large red crystalline object cracks and fractures, light shining from within the fissures as it breaks apart. Song Yun strains as he strikes the giant rock monster with his sword, shouting as he discovers its body is harder than he anticipated. Song Yun's eyes glow a bright blue as he grits his teeth in distress, sweat covering his face. Song Yun leaps from the rocky cliff with his sword in hand, activating his dash skill to propel himself towards the massive red crystalline structure. Song Yun holds his sword, then screams in agony as his body cracks and contorts, yelling that he knew this would happen. Song Yun is trapped inside a grotesque red maw, injured and bound, as countless mocking eyes and shadowy forms surround him. Song Yun's bloodied and wounded hand twitches, tightening its grip on the hilt of his sword. Song Yun screams, his face splattered with blood as his eyes glow an intense blue. A bloodied Song Yun roars and lunges forward, swinging his large sword in a powerful upward slash. Song Yun drives his glowing weapon into the head of the massive, rock-like monster, which screams out in pain from the attack. The glowing sword is lodged in the sand golem's core stone, which cracks and shatters into pieces, its destruction complete. A glowing blue holographic interface displays the time remaining, showing 7 minutes and 8 seconds on the countdown. A blue holographic system display materializes, declaring the tutorial trial complete. Song Yun lies injured on the ground amidst collapsing rocks and debris, his sword impaled in the earth nearby. Song Yun bursts out from a mound of sand, coughing heavily as he falls to his knees. Wounded and panting, he kneels in the vast desert next to his sword, looking confused. Song Yun smirks, his face bruised and bleeding from his injuries. A blue light glows from below against the open sky. Song Yun stands exhausted and covered in blood, clutching his splattered sword as a system notification announces he has completed level 1 of the Tower of Trials, and he realizes he made it. A blue system window appears, announcing a clearance reward which grants him the privilege of unlocking an innate trait. A blue system window appears, displaying the clearance reward of 1,000 points. A blue system window announces a bonus reward, the acquisition of the skill Fast Region E+. Song Yun stares with wide, bloodied eyes at a glowing blue system message announcing he has obtained a bonus reward of 500 points. Song Yun stands splattered with blood, holding his bloody sword and looking toward a glowing blue interface that appears before him. Song Yun raises his bloodied hands before 4 shadowy figures with glowing red eyes, recalling the ridicule he received despite 7 years of hard training, as a blue system notification announces that his innate trait has been unlocked. Song Yun assumes a powerful stance, holding a thin blade as blue energy glows on the ground around him. A system notification imbues him with the innate trait Necromancy EF8, and he realizes he can now become a hunter. The only thing is, Song Yun's eyes glow with an intense blue light, blood splattered across his face. A blue aura emanates from his right side as his expression hardens with resolve. Song Yun's eye flares with a blue and pink energy. Song Yun stands with his back turned, observing a swirling vortex of red energy with a glowing orb at its center as he asks what it is this time. Song Yun, splattered with blood, looks on in surprise as a swirling, red-tinged black fog rapidly emerges from the dead golem beside him. Song Yun touches the swirling red energy with his blood-splattered finger, absorbing it as a system notification sounds. A blue holographic window materializes, activating the innate trait Necromancy FH. A blue system window appears, asking to absorb the sand golem's dead spirit and presenting a yeses or no choice. Song Yun realizes the fog might be connected to his innate trait, his intense blue eye glowing with blood splattered across his face. A blue system notification appears, asking to absorb the sand golem's dead spirit and offering a yes or no choice. Song Yun falls uncontrollably through the air as swirling tendrils of red and dark energy erupt from a glowing eye and envelop him. Xiang Yun screams with wide blue eyes, covered in blood as swirling red and black energy envelops him. Sang Yun stares forward with blood spattered across his face, his eye glowing an intense blue as he questions absorbing the spirit and wonders if the fog is connected to his innate trait. A blue system window asks to absorb the sand golem's dead spirit, presenting yeses and no options. Sang Yun falls backwards through the air, looking up in shock as swirling red tendrils of energy from a glowing orb envelop him. Sang Yun screams while covered in blood, his eyes wide as dark red, shadowy energy erupts and swirls around him. A blue system notification appears, stating that the sand golem's dead spirit has been absorbed. A blue system window appears, announcing that his skill level has increased by 7%. Dark red, shadowy tendrils violently envelop Song Yun, leaving him bloodied and shocked. Song Yun screams as a glowing red, heart-like energy core bursts from his chest, splattering blood. A surge of glowing red, smoky energy erupts from Song Yun's chest and arm, engulfing his upper body. A red core crackles with dark energy as a system notification appears, displaying the message, "No," of dead spirits and possession 155. Seong Yun keeps his eyes closed as dark reddish energy seeps from them, surrounded by glowing red particles. He feels the absorbed dead spirit inside him and wonders how to use its power. A system notification announces the permanent increase of stats using an absorbed dead spirit. Blue system notifications announce that strength has increased by 3 points and stamina has increased by 2 points. Seung-yin floats above the ground with blood on his mouth and neck, his body radiating an intense red energy and light. Xiong-yun stands bloodied, his eyes glowing an intense blue as red-orange energy radiates from his body, and he feels himself becoming stronger. A system notification glows red, announcing that his stats have finally gone up. Song-yun kneels shirtless and sweating among numerous wooden training dummies. He pants from exhaustion while holding his staff, shocked to realize that his stats, which hadn't changed in 7 years of training, have now permanently increased. A blue holographic interface displays the details for an innate trait called necromancy, currently at grade F with 7% proficiency. Its main effect enables the user to absorb and command the spirits of the dead. A secondary effect permanently increases the user's stats based on the trait's grade and the spirit's condition, while another allows for the storage and use of dead spirits, with the limit depending on the trait grade. Song Yun stands covered in blood with a manic grin as a red aura radiates from his body, his eyes glowing blue as he laughs and wonders if this new ability means he can become a hunter. Seong Yun stands in a desert landscape next to a glowing blue portal as a holographic system message appears above him, instructing him to proceed to the lobby. Seong Yun's face is splattered with blood and his blue eyes glow intensely with electrical energy. Seong Yun limps across the uneven ground, a faint blue magical glow surrounding his feet. A ring of blue and purple energy manifests, surrounded by glowing particles. Song Yun slams into the ground, blood splattering around him as his weapon falls from his grasp. Song Yun lies face down on the tiled floor, heavily injured and surrounded by blood as his sword rests nearby. Seong Yun flips upside down in midair, blood splattering from his head as his eyes widen with disorientation. Song Yun stands in a desolate space and looks down at his hands, surprised to find his injuries completely healed as green energy particles swirl around him. Song Yun staggers through a vast, empty room, weakened from blood loss as he falls toward the solitary bed. Song Yun collapses onto the bed, his sword leaning against the wall nearby. Song Yun lies injured on the bed, staring upwards with a distressed expression as he questions what he is supposed to do and wonders if he will ever escape the tower. He questions why they brought him here in the first place. Song Yun stares forward in shock, his eyes wide and his mouth slightly open. So-young Yun sits on a bed and stares at a glowing blue system window that lists 5 command prompts: information, store, community, inventory, and trials. He reads the instruction to say a command out loud to launch the relevant function, questioning what command prompts are. Seong Yun grits his teeth and squeezes his eyes shut, raising his hands to defend against an impact as a blue glow surrounds him while he resolves to just focus on making it out alive. A system window appears, announcing the trials and displaying a timer counting down from over 23 hours until the start of trial level 2. Song Yun sits on a stone structure, looking up at a blue holographic system message that tells him he cannot commence a trial yet. He thinks to himself that another trial is, of course, already waiting. A blue system notification announces entry into the community board, indicating the difficulty level is hard. Users post messages on the community board in a state of confusion. Song Jin Lee asks for an explanation of the situation, while Jin Yu Park wonders if it is another great calamity. Hui Jin Lee reports that her stats and skills have reverted back to when she first awakened. Chanseok Park demands his status window back, and Sunghoon Kim confirms his has also returned to its default state. Seok Jin Hyun, a non-hunter, questions why he is present, stating that only players should be able to enter dungeons. Chanseok Park asks how a non-player entered, and Seok Jin Hyun retorts that he was awakened when the tutorial started. Song Yoon stares intently with sweat on his temple, realizing the chaotic chat room is a mix of active hunters and civilians. Song Yoon stares at the chat window, startled as a system message announces an admin has entered and locked all communication. Song Yoon's eyes widen in shock and his mouth hangs agape in disbelief at the presence of the admin. A system notification revokes the ability to send messages, and an administrator with a crown icon announces news for all challengers who completed the tutorial trial. Sang-yun sits on the bed, his attention fixed on a glowing light source on the wall as he considers the news. He hopes it will contain information on how to get back to the real world and resolves to focus on every single detail. A system message explains how to use the points earned from completing the tutorial trial, stating they are a common currency used in the store and can be transferred through a community function. Song-yun's blue eye glows intensely as sweat beads on his brow, and he reads the system message stating he cannot drink water without points, realizing trials are the only way to earn them. Song-yun realizes he must do whatever it takes to adapt to the tower's point-based system where even water has a cost. Song-yun, gaunt and emaciated, screams toward the sky, declaring that the only way to survive is to attempt the trials and earn points. A red system message appears, announcing the end of the transmission. The message states the admin has left the chat and confirms that users may now send messages again. Song-yun covers his face with his hand, his eye glowing an intense blue as he resolves to make it home and become a hunter. Song-yun sits on a bed and sighs, resting his hand near his face. A large, two-handed sword leans against a scratched wall. Its owner feels he will need more than just the blade. The word "store" is displayed inside an oval. Song-yun dashes forward, wielding his sword and shield as he moves with incredible speed, his foot planting firmly to propel his charge. Seong-yong grits his teeth with tears in his eyes, swinging his sword and holding his shield as he pushes himself through grueling training. Song-yun lies spread-eagled on the tiled floor, panting from exhaustion as his sword and shield rest beside him. Song-yun is engulfed by a bright green energy with rising particles, his eyes wide and his mouth slightly open. Song-yun practices combat moves inside a sterile room, his sword and shield lying on the floor as he considers how the lobby's constant healing allows for unlimited training, but his stomach growls and interrupts his confident thoughts. Se-young-yun gasps and clutches his right arm, his face showing pained surprise. Seong-yun feels his stomach grumble and opens his inventory, reaching out to interact with the glowing blue holographic screen that appears before him. A game-like inventory window appears, displaying a grid of items including a sword, a shield, potions, daggers, bandages, a water skin, and a red cloth. Song-yun bites a stick with a stressed expression as a blue energy shield materializes over his arm, reflecting that he only has 40 points left after his purchases and would not have been able to afford the shield without the bonus reward. A blue system interface displays the countdown for trial level 2, showing 17 minutes and 17 seconds remaining, as a thought reflects that the time flew by. Song-yun stands alone in a tiled room, looking at a glowing blue interface screen and thinking how the once full chat room is now deathly silent as the second trial approaches. Song-yun stands with his back turned, looking down as he sighs and questions if he can survive this time. He thinks only a single word of denial. Song-yun's eyes glow blue as sweat covers his face, his expression hardening with the resolve to survive no matter what. A blue holographic screen displays a countdown, showing only 10 seconds remaining until the start of trial level 2. The countdown timer ticks down from 9 seconds to 8. A digital timer counts down from 3 seconds to 0, and a blue system notification announces the beginning of trial level 2. A glowing blue system window appears with a prompt asking, "Would you like to take part in the level 2 trial?" presenting yeses and no as the available options. Seong-yun dives into a swirling vortex of blue energy and emerges in a lush forest as system messages announce he is entering level 2 of the Tower of Trials on hard difficulty. Seong-yun stands in a forest clearing with a surprised expression as leaves rustle around him. A blue holographic screen appears and displays the trial's theme, assassination. A system notification issues a quest to assassinate the orc chieftain within a time limit, displaying images of various orcs before focusing on the large orc chieftain. Seong-yun stands atop a jagged rocky peak with his arms slightly outstretched, surrounded by swirling white energy. Seong-yun looks down from a forest clearing at a large, primitive settlement of tents and wooden fences, realizing it is an orc encampment. A group of orcs stands in a chaotic village, one holding a spear and letting out a guttural cry. Song Yun's eyes glow blue with intense focus as he hardens his expression, resolved to walk right into the army of orcs. Someone shouts the question of how their chieftain could be killed right under their nose. A crude, spiked structure of wood and cloth stands against a cloudy sky and distant trees. Two muscular, green-skinned figures stand together, the one in front holding a spear as its eyes glow with an intense light. Two large figures observe Song Yun as he stands at the end of a sunlit forest path. Seong Yun peeks through dense foliage with a serious expression, his eyes focused as he swallows hard at the realization that orc sentries mean hunters are also in their ranks. A green-skinned orc hunter with glowing red eyes and tusks holds a large club. He doubts his ability to handle even a single hunter by himself, realizing the true problem is their sheer number. Song Yun visualizes a full party of 5 diverse hunters, realizing this is the minimum strength required to take on the horde of orcs. Song Yun's eyes glow blue as he internally struggles with the difficult decision. Song Yun lies camouflaged in the foliage, deciding to retreat for a better strategy, when a rustling sound from nearby snaps his head around in alert surprise. Song Yun peers through the foliage, his eyes widening with a sudden realization as he figures out the solution to the trial. Seong Yun kneels in a forest clearing, holding a flaming torch and a glowing system interface while looking at a pile of logs. Song Yun stares intently with his blue eyes as a swirling mass of fire manifests in front of him. Song Yun projects a blue energy shield from his outstretched arm, shoving back a fiery force with intense focus. A blue system notification displays a burning torch, indicating a quantity of 1 has been acquired. Seong Yun grins triumphantly as bright blue energy radiates from behind him, his plan having succeeded. The dense forest canopy opens to a view of the bright, partly cloudy sky as several birds fly overhead. A large armored orc stands in a forest before his tribe. Despite their appearance as lazy pigs, orcs are exceptionally hardworking. Song Yun peeks from behind a tree, his blue eyes glowing as he observes his surroundings and swallows nervously, thinking that since hunters are gone until sundown, he has plenty of time. Seong Yun looks up at the massive horde of orcs, his eyes glowing blue as he resolves to use fire to overcome the overwhelming numbers, and intense flames erupt around him. The title card for Boundless Ascension, Episode 4, is displayed. 2 orc-like figures walk along a dirt path toward a rustic village building. Song Yun peeks from behind a tree, recalling that orc sentries return to their settlement to eat or rest instead of only standing guard. Seong Yun sprints through the forest, flinging a fiery projectile. He dashes forward and throws another one as he moves. A column of golden-orange flame erupts violently upwards, scattering embers through the air. The large green-skinned creature recoils in shock as a fiery explosion erupts, engulfing the figures behind it in flames. Seong Yun sets the forest settlement on fire, planning for the flames to surround it completely so he will not encounter any orc hunters returning from their hunt. Orcs sprint through a burning and smoke-filled forest, some carrying wooden buckets. 3 green-skinned figures walk along a dirt path beside a body of water, carrying various containers. A large green creature emerges from the splashing water as Song Yun appears in the background. The creature's face shows a startled and questioning expression. Song Yun drives his glowing dagger into the goblin's chest, splattering blood everywhere. Seong Yun stands over the fallen orc as swirling energy emanates from its corpse. A system notification appears, activating his innate trait, necromancy, and asking if he would like to absorb the orc's dead spirit. Song Yun smiles confidently as dark red, tendril-like energy surges and swirls around his body. Song Yun smirks as dark red energy emanates from his chest, and a system notification informs him that he has absorbed the orc's dead spirit, increasing his skill level by 9%. Seong Yun stands holding his round shield next to a towering green creature with glowing red eyes, both of them reacting in surprise to an unseen presence. A monstrous green-skinned sentry with glowing red eyes slams a massive weapon into the ground, and Seong Yun reacts to the violent impact, his eyes glowing blue. Song Yun's eyes glow blue and his face strains as he unleashes a bright burst of energy from his right side. Seong Yun, wreathed in blue energy, strikes the snarling goblin with his sword as a system message announces a permanent increase of 4 strength and 2 agility from the absorbed dead spirit. Song Yun dashes forward, his eyes glowing blue with an intense expression as particles fly around him. An uncontrolled fire rages through the forest, filling the dark sky with thick smoke. Song Yun stands over the defeated monster, breathing heavily as a red spirit flows from the corpse into his body. A system notification appears, activating his Fast Regen skill, while another message confirms his stats are permanently increasing from the absorbed spirit. Song Yun's eyes glow blue as he reads the system messages floating before him, which confirm increases to his stamina, strength, and agility. He clenches his fist, acknowledging that his new stats will make future fights easier. Seong Yun walks through the burning forest, carrying a sword and shield as flames and smoke surround him. A group of orcs charges forward through the smoke and flying embers, led by a large orc wielding a crude axe. Seong Yun stares forward, his eyes glowing with intense blue light as he mentally counts his targets. Seong Yun cuts down the elderly chieftain for his 5th kill, and then dashes through the remaining monstrous figures in a blur of melee combat. A green-skinned monster wearing a horned skull headpiece holds a staff and snarls, its eyes glowing as it plans to kill the chieftain while avoiding the sentry. Seong Yun's eyes glow blue as an ethereal aura surrounds his body. He moves swiftly through the monstrous workers, cutting them down with a small blade. Seong Yun's eyes glow an intense blue, his expression focused as red splatters burst around him. Seong Yun dashes forward in a blur of motion, striking the large green monster with glowing red eyes. Seong Yun clashes his sword and shield against the large green-skinned monster, creating an explosion of fire and debris from the impact. Seong Yun strains as his eyes glow blue, punching his fist through a large wooden barrier which cracks and splinters from the force. Seong Yun evades the sentry's staff attack while preparing to counter, realizing the creature is no longer guarding the chieftain and is now the only obstacle in his path. Seong Yun lunges forward with glowing blue eyes, a powerful aura surrounding him as he thrusts his spear-like weapon. Seong Yun's eye glows as he plunges a blue energy blade into the chest of the large green-skinned creature, causing blood to splatter. Seong Yun stands before a massive, swirling vortex of fire and energy. Seong Yun stands panting on the defeated monster's corpse, holding his glowing sword and shield as blood splatters the ground around him. Seong Yun generates a massive, fiery explosion of energy that erupts from his body and completely surrounds him. Seong Yun's face contorts in immense strain, his mouth open as he lets out a pained grunt. The monstrous figure unleashes a golden energy blast downwards, impacting and engulfing the screaming Seong Yun. The tusked green monster glares forward, its yellow eyes glowing intensely amidst a flurry of fiery sparks. Seong Yun stands in the center of a fiery explosion, holding his sword firmly. The tusked creature stares in abject terror, its eyes widening in shock as it stammers. Seong Yun stands injured with blood on his face, his eyes glowing blue as he holds a sword and a damaged, bloodied shield. He grunts in pain while system notifications appear around him, announcing he has unlocked the achievement. Triuged the fire and flames and acquired the skill, Burn Resistance Fest. Seong Yun glares forward, his face splattered with blood. His eyes glow a piercing blue as he bares his teeth in a snarl, screaming that his enemy is dead. A horned figure steps forward, wielding a staff that unleashes a powerful blaze, engulfing Seong Yun, who falls backward through the intense flames. A goblin shaman is engulfed by a blast of magical fire. The large monster, wreathed in fiery energy, strikes down at Seong Yun, who glows with blue power as blood and debris fly from the impact. Seong Yun crushes the green-skinned creature's head in his hand. Seong Yun takes a step forward through the burning ruins, facing a monstrous creature as it struggles and chokes. A horned green-skinned figure bursts through a paper screen entrance. Seong Yun pants heavily, his face bloodied and bruised as his eyes glow a brilliant blue, looking down at the defeated figure lying on the scorched ground. Seong Yun grips his staff and walks across the fiery, desolate ground, leaving a trail of footprints as he moves towards an open book. Seong Yun stands amidst an orange explosion, his face bloodied and clothes tattered. He holds a damaged shield and slashes forward with a glowing blue energy blade. Seong Yun's eye glows an intense blue as blood streams from his eyelid. Seong Yun confronts a large orc as 2 small goblins cling to it in fear, the monsters trembling before him while blood splatters the wooden floor at his feet. Seong Yun stands over the small green goblin, holding his sword pointed down at the kneeling creature as its hand trembles beside his leg. Seong Yun watches the small green child cry on the wooden floor while clutching a piece of dark fabric, realizing that even orcs have loved ones. Seong Yun is heavily injured, his face and clothes smeared with blood. He looks down at the ground in silence. A desperate voice screams a warning, telling Seong Yun to hurry and run. A desperate command echoes in his mind. He has to survive, even if no one else makes it. Seong Yun appears as a distressed child in his family photograph, which lies with its frame shattered on the blood-splattered floor. A green-skinned creature with torn clothing grips its jagged weapon, which emits a bright glow. A green-skinned goblin-like creature with glowing red eyes lunges forward, attacking with a sharp, glowing object. Song Yun, bloodied and with glowing blue eyes, thrusts his glowing sword forward and impacts an unseen target with great force. A goblin's bloodied face twists in rage as it screams its promise to kill every last monster, while a larger, shaggy creature dashes forward to attack a smaller one. Song Yun's eyes glow with an intense blue light as he charges forward through the chaotic spray of blood and energy. A blue system notification appears, congratulating the user on completing level 2 of the Tower of Trials. A dark wooden shield is heavily damaged, its surface covered in deep claw marks and its metal reinforcements buckled from impact. Song Yun interacts with glowing blue holographic screens extending from his hands, swiping a finger across one of the displays. Song Yun stares forward, his eyes glowing a bright blue as he processes the elimination of half the challengers. Song Yun stares in shock, his eye widening as it glows with a bright blue light. Si-hun Kim sends a message stating that only half of their group is left, and Seokjin Hyun replies that he used his question to find out how to return to Earth. Song Yun is struck by the sudden realization that there might be a way to return to Earth. Song Yun's eyes focus on the holographic system screen displaying the information command, which allows a user to submit one new question to the admin each time they reach a new level in the Tower of Trials. Players in the community chat room decided to share information, concluding that at level 5 they can purchase temporary return stones allowing a brief return to Earth. Earth emits a golden light into the cosmos as a system message announces that from level 8, an expanded system will be unlocked, granting the opportunity to buy an item for a permanent return to the planet. Song Yun looks upward with a determined expression, his clothes torn and sweat on his face, resolving that he can use his powers to become a great hunter even if he has to return home. A system window displays the F-grade innate trait Necromancy at 65% proficiency, which allows the user to absorb and command the spirits of the dead. Its secondary effects grant permanent stat increases based on the spirit's condition and allow spirits to be stored up to a limit determined by the trait's grade. Song Yun turns away, his disheveled form surrounded by swirling blue energy as he clutches his head in distress. He frantically scratches his scalp, screaming and begging to be sent back. Song Yun clutches his head in distress, overwhelmed by his struggle at level 2 and the immense challenge of reaching level 8. Song Yun considers the bright side of his situation, noting his stats have improved from rock bottom to nearly 20. He checks his status, seeing Strength 18, Stamina 15, Agility 14 plus 5, and Magic 7. He confirms his innate trait is Necromancy plus Trejan E-Fis, and his skills are Fast Regen E+, Burn Resistance E-Fis, and Pain Resistance D. Song Yun stands over a pile of clothing that disintegrates into dust on the floor at his feet. Song Yun is engulfed by swirling red and black spiritual energy, his eyes glowing brightly as he resolves to absorb the 5 dead spirits he captured, considering he almost died in the process. A system window displays Song Yun Han's status, listing his strength at 27, stamina at 25, agility at 28 plus 5, and magic at 13. His innate trait is Necromancy, FAF, and he has the skills Fast Regen, E+, Burn Resistance, F-Ace, and Pain Resistance, D. Song Yun stares intensely while a red glow envelops him, and a powerful blurred entity manifests above his head. Song Yun is blasted back by a surge of overwhelming energy. He lies on the ground and laughs maniacally, feeling he has finally surpassed human limits. Song Yun throws his body backward, narrowly dodging a powerful force as it rushes past his face. Song Yun's face contorts in extreme terror, his wide blue eyes filled with panic as he lets out a screech and sweat beads on his skin. A large-scale explosion erupts from a central point, sending a shockwave of debris flying outward. Song Yun lies unconscious on the tiled floor, a human-shaped crater cracked into the wall behind him from the impact. Song Yun lies on the ground wiping blood from his nose, his expression exhausted yet determined as he realizes his body has not yet caught up with his rapid progress. A system notification confirms the purchase of the Deadwood Shield, D, for 2,100 points, an item crafted by a black mage that activates a buff upon losing health. Song Yun opens his inventory to use his trial rewards, and the system displays the Black Steel Dagger, an E+ rank weapon that increases reaction speed by 5% and attack speed by 10%. Song Yun examines a system window displaying the stats for the D-rank Assassin's Cloak, which reduces sensory traces by 10%, increases agility by 5 if the stat is under 50, and provides a 15% movement speed boost for 1 minute with a 24-hour cooldown. Song Yun exhales, resolving to master his new items and stats before the next trial begins. Song Yun moves with incredible speed, manifesting potent blue energy around his body. He declares his goal to become stronger than anyone could ever dream, and his eyes glow with a fierce blue light. A single drop of water falls from a stalactite, landing in a glowing pool inside a dark cavern. Seong-yoon strides forward with his dagger and shield while a blue energy ring expands from his body. A blue system message appears, announcing entry into Level 3 of the Tower of Trials. A blue holographic system message appears, confirming the selected difficulty for the Tower of Trials is hard. A blue holographic system screen appears, announcing that the theme of the trial is duel. Song-yoon stares intently ahead from beneath his hood, his eyes wide and his mouth slightly open in surprise. Seong-yoon stands alone in a vast, dark cave, looking up at a bright opening in the ceiling where light streams down. Song-yoon looks up as a blue system message appears before him, announcing that the Guardian of Darkness will appear in 10 seconds. A blue holographic screen displays a timer, counting down the final 5 seconds until the arrival of the Guardian of Darknesses. Song-yoon stands in a defensive stance with his sword and shield raised, preparing for an attack from any direction inside the dark cavern as a timer counts down. A glowing blue digital interface displays a countdown timer ticking down to its final second before a system alert sounds. A blue system window appears with a notification, announcing that the Guardian of Darkness has appeared. Seong-yoon lunges forward with his sword and shield inside the dark rocky cavern as a much larger, sword-wielding shadow looms behind him. Seong-yoon stares forward as his eye glows with an intense blue light. Seong-yoon lunges forward with a weapon, stabbing a shadowy opponent and causing blood to spray from the impact. Song-yoon lunges forward, his body a shadowy monster with glowing red eyes and a wide, menacing grin. Sang-yoon grunts, his face contorting in extreme effort as glowing blue particles begin to materialize below him. A blue interface projects a new mission directive stating that the doppelganger, the Guardian of Darkness, must be defeated. Seong-yoon, wearing a hood, moves through the dark cavern with his sword and shield raised as a shadowy figure looms in the background. Song-yoon's eye flares with intense blue energy. Seong-yoon smashes the spiked weapon on his arm into a dark figure, sending blood spraying from the impact. Song-yoon lunges forward as a monstrous figure, his eyes glowing red as he snarls and bares his fangs. Song-yoon grunts in pain, gritting his teeth as sweat beads on his face from the intense strain. A glowing blue holographic screen displays the mission objective to defeat Doppelganger, the Guardian of Darkness. Seong-yoon's eyes glow blue as he lunges at a shadowy opponent, attacking with a sword and a whip of energy. Two silhouetted figures confront each other inside a vast ice cavern, illuminated by a single light source from above. A monstrous, fanged creature with glowing red eyes snarls down at the bloodied Song-yoon, who gulps in terror. Seong-yoon's bleeding shoulder glows with green energy as a system window activates his fast Reagan skill, and he reflects that the attack would have severed his spine if he had not turned away. Song-yoon stands in the rain with a focused expression, his eyes glowing with an intense blue light. A massive, sharp metallic blade is unsheathed, its surface glowing faintly in the darkness. Seong-yoon's image splits, revealing his human self with a shield on one side and a dark, horned, demonic entity with a glowing red eye and a claw on the other as he questions if the creature is imitating him. Seong-yoon crouches into a lunging stance, his eyes glowing blue with a powerful aura as he says there's only one way to find out. Seong-yoon's eyes glow blue as he moves within swirling energy, attacking the large armored foe from multiple directions at once. A monstrous entity with glowing red eyes and sharp fangs lunges forward with incredible speed. Blood spurts upwards from an unseen point of impact. Song-yoon stands defiantly on the desolate landscape with his sword and shield as a massive, shadowy appendage slams down, splattering blood onto the ground in front of him. Song-yoon stares intensely from the shadows of his hood, his eyes radiating a powerful blue glow. Seong-yoon transforms into a monstrous shadowy figure, surrounded by swirling dark energy as his eyes glow red and he bares his sharp teeth. A monstrous entity with glowing red eyes snarls above Song-yoon, mocking that the regeneration skill is standard. Song-yoon glares up, his eyes glowing an intense blue as a bead of sweat runs down his face. Song-yoon lunges forward as a monstrous shadowy figure with glowing red eyes and a wide, sharp-toothed grin. Seong-yoon wields his glowing dagger, turning in surprise as two dark, horned figures with glowing red eyes ambush him from either side. Song-yoon realizes the monster is copying his every move and slams his foot down with force. Song-yoon delivers a swift, glowing red slash towards his dark-skinned, red-eyed opponent. Seong-yoon leaps forward with glowing blue eyes, holding a glowing shield-like device. Song-yoon, engulfed in blue energy, vigorously battles several shadowy opponents amidst the chaotic impacts of their fight. Seong-yoon lunges forward, wielding a glowing blue blade with a shield strapped to his other arm. Song-yoon's intense blue eyes look to the right as a glowing red projectile speeds directly toward him. A burst of blue and purple energy explodes outwards from a central point. Song Yun clashes with a shadowy combatant, a burst of bright energy erupting between them in the desolate, rocky landscape. Song Yun stares in shock with blood on his neck and sweat covering his face, his blue eyes glowing intensely as he yells, "What was that?" A bright arc of energy slashes through the air, scattering debris in its path. Song Yun clashes his sword and shield against a red-eyed monster, surrounded by glowing red energy as other figures battle in the dark cavern. Song Yun grits his teeth and strains, grunting in pain as he realizes his opponent is already evolving mid-fight. Seng Yun, enveloped in a swirling dark aura, swings his sword down on a shadowy opponent whose red eyes widen in surprise. Seong Yun crouches in a combat stance, wielding a glowing sword and shield as blue energy envelops him. He activates the item skill Assassin's Cloak, and a system notification confirms his movement speed has increased by 15%. Song Yun breathes heavily with a strained, determined expression as he watches a digital timer. He sees his skill effect has 59 seconds remaining while a monstrous adversary snarls at him. A colossal shadowy force crashes into the ground, erupting in an explosion of earth and debris as Song Yun stands firm against the shockwave in the distance. Sang Yun dives from the sky with trails of light streaming from his body, plunging his attack toward a shadowed opponent on the ground. Song Yun's eyes glow blue as he unleashes a bright red energy blast from his arm with a furious expression. Song Yun's eyes glow blue as he clashes his sword and shield against the skeletal red-eyed monster. Song Yun manifests as a shadowy monster with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth, snarling as a blue light radiates from his body. Seong Yun drives his glowing energy blade through the large, shadowy monster. Song Yun pants heavily from exertion, gritting his teeth as his eyes glow blue, his strained expression showing clear triumph. A bright blue energy attack slams into the shadowy monster, causing a violent burst of dark particles from its body. Song Yun recoils from a descending sword slash as blood splatters into the air. Song Yun's eyes glow a piercing blue as blood and sweat run down his face. He bares his sharp teeth, his expression twisted in agony. Song Yun screams in agony, clutching his shield as blood violently spurts from his wounded arm. Sang Yun's face is streaked with blood and sweat as his eyes glow blue. He pants heavily, struggling to maintain his focus. A shadowy, monstrous figure stands within a dark cavern, holding a bloody blade and a shield above scattered bloodstains on the ground. Song Yun's injured eye glows with a focused blue light as he thinks that the creature isn't moving, concluding it needs time to recover from his last attack despite its regeneration skill. Sang Yun confronts the monster, his bloody hand gripping the hilt of his broken weapon. He recognizes this is his chance to kill the creature but realizes he no longer has a sword. Song Yun is bloodied, his face strained with intense focus as a blue holographic window floats before him, displaying his 15% movement speed buff with only 11 seconds remaining on the countdown. Sang Yun stands injured with blood splattered across his face and clothes, grunting as he firmly grips a bloody device. Song Yun is thrown backward by a powerful impact, bracing himself as debris explodes around him and blood sprays from his mouth. Song Yun charges forward through an explosive impact, his face splattered with blood and his eyes glowing blue as he wields his shield. Song Yun, a shadowy monster with glowing red eyes and exposed musculature, twitches and lets out a guttural sound of confusion. Song Yun descends through the dark cavern as a shadowy figure, dropping toward the skeletal form lying on the ground below. Song Yun's shadowy form has glowing red eyes, sharp teeth, and a long tongue as he stretches a limb, transforming it into a glowing red blade. Song Yun screams furiously, his face covered in blood and his eyes glowing a brilliant blue. A dark monster with glowing red eyes and a long tongue unleashes a powerful force, crushing Song Yun beneath it. A circular impact tears through the ground, throwing debris outward. A column of purple energy and shattered rock blasts upward from the ground. The multi-limbed shadow monster writhes and strains, dark energy cracking around its form as it lets out a guttural sound. Song Yun bares his sharp fangs in a monstrous snarl, his eyes glowing red as a dark liquid drips from his mouth. Song Yun stands bloodied, his eyes glowing blue as dark, shadowy tendrils emanate from his body. He pants heavily while hoisting a broken, blood-splattered helmet into the air. Sang Yun glares forward, his face splattered with blood and a manic grin on his lips. His blue eyes glow intensely as he screams, "Now, die." Song Yun slams his glowing, blood-splattered attack into the dark entity on the ground. Seong Yun stands in his monstrous form, splattered with blood and his eyes glowing red, as a system message appears congratulating him on completing level 3 of the Tower of Trials.